Good morning, kid life. Hey, there's an activity, a little illustration that's in this week's lesson that you can either do with your large group or you can do as a small group activity. So I just wanted to do a quick video so you kind of see what it looks. So again, I'm going to be using note cards. You're going to be using either full sheets of paper or a poster board if you need to make it bigger on stage. And so basically, first thing you do is you draw a house, right? Whoop, there we go. Draw a house and you say, hey guys, tell me about your family, right? Because this week's message, this week's main point is God has placed you in a spiritual family. It's called the church. So tell me about your family. Who lives in your house? Who's your family? And so they start telling you about dad, and so maybe you draw him with a little mustache. You can't kind of a mustache, right? Mom, and you draw her with some flowing hair, right? So and then they talk about their cat. There you go. That's a cat, in case you can't tell. So basically, you take who they have in their family and you draw it inside their house. You say, okay, so that's your family. We'll come back to that. Put a pin in it. Then you talk about, but what about our church family, right? Like this building's called the church. You can tell because it's got a cross, right? That's and so then you say, who do you run into at church, right? And so they say Pastor Kevin, and you make him really tall, and they talk about Grayson, who's even taller, or they talk about other folks, right? They talk about Pastor Harry, and so you draw him. And again, it's just stick figures, it's just quick. But then what you do is say, okay, and God has placed us in a spiritual family, and it's called the church. Okay, put a pin in it, hold it. Okay, let's go back to your family. Now, let's say, get some scissors. Now, let's say that something happened to your house, right? And so that now you no longer had the family building, which is called a house, right? Now, this family without a building, is it still a family? Does it still provide a home? And the answer is yes, because you still have mom and dad and cat. And so the answer is yes, that this would still be a family. Then you say, what about your church family? Right? Let's say that for some strange reason something happened and we were no longer able to meet in this beautiful middle school. Now, for those rest of you who actually have permanent buildings, this is a bigger deal. But let's say that your church family was removed from a building and no longer did we have a church building, would we still be the church? And the answer to that is most definitely yes, because the church is not a building. God placed you in a spiritual family, and it's called the church. And that's what the church is. It's not a building, it's a spiritual family that you're a part of, that I'm a part of. And at this point, you're going to want to make it personal. You're going to want to think through your life and a time that the church was the church for you. And you're going to share that story. For instance, I remember a time that Hope and I were struggling financially. And because of a poor financial decision that I had made, we were broke. And I remember we were so, man, we just didn't know what we were going to do. And so we met with our life group and we went to our life group leaders and I said, hey guys, like, this is where we're at. And it was so cool because they said, hey, we're going to help you. And they said that we're not going to give it to you as a loan. This is a gift with the understanding that you get to be the church later, that you get to provide spiritual family for somebody else later. And so they took care of us and they were our spiritual family. And we've gotten to do that for other folks. And so that's the cool thing is that God placed us in a spiritual family and it's called the church. It's not a building, it's a spiritual family. So you guys get the idea. That's the activity. We're removing the building from the spiritual, from the regular physical family and the spiritual family, but they continue to be families. Hope that's helpful. See y'all.